In the occasional rough and tumble where internet business and politics meet, the phrase net neutrality has become fighting words. Now, it's an easy bet that most people have no idea what it means or what the fight's all about. What's at stake, however, may be the future shape and cost of the internet. Well, helping us make sense of this battle over net neutrality is Sara Jerome, a reporter for The Hill and contributor to the Silicon Valley blog. She's joining us now by Skype. First off, Sara, thanks for being with us. What is meant by this phrase, net neutrality?
So net neutrality is kind of a very political term. It's a phrase that activists created to describe the idea of the open internet. That's the internet where companies don't have to pay. So a Google or a Skype or any kind of content or application service doesn't have to pay cable and phone companies to deliver their content and application and service. But so the idea is that new business models could emerge so that a Google, especially so if they want YouTube videos to be delivered to consumers, they would have to strike a deal with Comcast or AT&T and Verizon so that their content could be delivered at high speeds and at a good quality.
So in effect, and I hesitate to use this phrase, but net neutrality proponents basically want to look at the internet like a pipe, or I guess maybe more like the phone lines. Let's not say a series of tubes. Maybe just sort of like the phone lines now. You know, you pick up the phone, whether you're a president or somebody just like myself, you have equal access to those phone lines. Is that the basic idea?
That's exactly right. So that, if you're a small blog somewhere, your content gets delivered just as quickly and at the same quality as if you're an internet behemoth who can pay Comcast millions of dollars to have your content delivered quickly.
So I can see why there's a lot of money at stake and a lot of interest in stake. So here's my question. Why isn't Congress dealing with this? Why has this suddenly ended up in the lap of the FCC?
Well, Congress has tried. The debate kind of emerged initially in D.C. Probably about a decade ago, and there have been various bills over the years to try to preserve the open internet, and then corresponding bills to restrict the government from passing anything in this domain. The most recent legislative attempt was in September, and it surrounded the House Energy and Commerce Committee. Chairman Waxman pulled a bunch of stakeholders together on all sides and tried to draft a bill. But, I mean, the political climate right now is so tense between Democrats and Republicans, and this was right before the elections. So Republicans ended up totally panning it. The whole effort fell apart, and everything moved back to the FCC. The original reason why it's been focused at the FCC is because Obama made a campaign promise around net neutrality, and it became a major policy agenda item for his FCC chairman, and that was one of his initial pushes when he assumed that when he began his term as chairman. People still, like Verizon would tell you that it should all be happening on Capitol Hill rather than at the FCC, but the realistic thought is that nothing could ever make it through Congress on this because it's very controversial.
Well, nothing may be able to make it through Congress, but I'm wondering if the FCC's slated to take a vote on December 21st. Is that right?
Doug?
The FCC is slated to take a vote on this on the 21st. Is that right?
Yeah, the FCC will vote on the 21st.
But, okay, so things may not be able to make it through Congress, but Congress still has the ability to stop things that they don't like. This week, you were writing about a group of Republican senators who went on record opposing the FCC's plans. Why is that, and could they possibly have any effect here?
Right. Well, right now, the Republicans are being very noisy about their opposition to this. But realistically, when you play out the votes, if this passes at the FCC, the House would probably be able to pass something to to kill the effort, possibly, because the House Republicans are unanimously opposed to this. The Senate, but it's a big question whether they could get anything to the Senate, because they would need more Democrats to sign on. And then after that, it would have to go to Obama, who made a campaign promise about this. And there's a pretty good chance he would veto something like this. But people question whether it will even go that far, because there's no clear constituency the Republicans would be catering to if they took this effort on. Phone and cable companies have kind of said, okay, whatever, we could sign on to these rules because they're not terrible. Internet companies like them. Most voters don't really even know this is going on, so it's questionable whether they'd really make a big, strong push about it.
Exactly. And so let's just square this circle. I mean, what is this going to... People may not know this is going on. They may not understand what the battles are. Clearly, there's a lot of money at stake. What does this mean for folk, here in the States, but who are accessing the Internet, and also, for people around the world? I mean, what kind of impact might this have on their use of the Internet?
That's a good question. It really depends on who you ask. If you ask the real diehard net neutrality proponents, like the activists in D.C. who are working every day to get really strong regulations about this, they'd say if the net neutrality rules the Commission is considering are passed, the Internet will be ruined because the rules are too weak. So they say there's so many loopholes that the phone and cable companies will fill in the loopholes by extending a greater control over the way content moves on the Internet. So that's the real strong activist community. There's a whole broad spectrum of moderates who think this, if something passes at the FCC, it'll maintain consumer protections, preserve the status quo of what the Internet is today, so we won't see significant changes as new business models develop, and put a little bit of a halt on what cable companies and phone companies can do to our service. The real diehard anti-net neutrality folks on the other side would say that if anything is passed to this effect, it will cripple the emerging business models and halt innovation and hurt the broadband ecosystem. And they say any kind of regulation in this space would stifle the great innovation that's gone on around the Internet. So
good heavens.
I think there's
good heavens. Yeah, good heavens. Somewhere between destroying the Internet and crippling the Internet business model.
Right.
Well, Sara Jerome, thank you so much for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sara Jerome is a reporter for The Hill. You can read her contributions to the Hillicon Valley blog. She joined us by Skype.